Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. If they can't, I'll have to shout a bit louder. So my name is Phil Nichols, and I work for a small services company in Sheffield called SciDev. We're developer members of IMS, and we've been sort of looking on and off in between sort of paid work over the last 6 months or so at LIS, and seeing if it's possible to implement it, you know, if you don't have the resources base of an Oracle or a Blackboard. Now, I wasn't sure how much people knew about LIS, so I've got a couple of slides that sort of describe what it is. Then I'm going to sort of show you what, or tell you what we've implemented. Then I've got a couple of demonstrations to follow on that. Now, they're live demos. Hopefully they will work. So apologies as Linda has gone through a lot of this already, but effectively, you know, LIS is a set of services that allow information about people, courses, memberships, groups, and so forth to be switched between different educational systems. And LIS provides a mechanism how that can be done live for sort of individual or small numbers of records, as well as a bulk mode where you could move, you know, in theory, many thousands of records around, and you know, it should all just work in the way that Linda has said. Again, to repeat what she said, there are 6 specifications, 1 for each of the 5 live services, plus 1 for the bulk data exchange. Just a little bit of technical background. LIS kind of operates on the idea that you have something which is a sort of a source for information, something which is you know, sort of the gospel, if you like, view of it. And in LIS terminology, that's called a reference agent. Consumers of information, that is people that are, systems that are receiving user information or course information, whatever, are termed synchronization agents. And of course, it's possible for a particular system to be both a reference agent for some bits of information and a synchronization agent for others. The example being an SIS, which is a reference source for information about students, and a synchronization source for information about grades and so forth that might have been calculated in a VLE. The general movement is that information leaves the reference agent and goes to a synchronization agent or agents, and the specs are currently WSDL SOAP based. So I think that's pretty much a basic introduction. For more info, more details, of course, go to the IMS site. So what have we built? We've built something which we're calling the LIS Gateway, and the idea is that we wanted to see if we could do an implementation just into a simple MySQL database, try and get an idea of how much work that was, and then look at ways of maybe extending that so that it could work with sort of real systems rather than just a simple database. In going through that, we ended up implementing pretty much all of it. So we do all the services, all the operations, apart from search, and we do the bulk data exchange part as well as the live part as well. Now, our gateway software takes care of all of the LIS calls, and we've got an API that we've written which is a little bit simpler than sort of LIS itself. So once a message comes in, our gateway will handle all the LIS side of it, and then parse the information and pass it on in using our simple API to some driver software. Currently, we've got a MySQL Hibernate sort of base driver, which just puts things into a database. And currently, we're working on a driver for Moodle, so that you know, when we receive LIS messages, we can squirt them into Moodle directly. And I'll show you that in a second. Okay, in terms of demonstrations, I'm going to show you 3 things today. First is read and write directly with a reference agent. So that will be talking to a MySQL database somewhere in the cloud that's got a set of LIS services in front of it. I'll then do a similar sort of thing, but with the synchronization agent, which is fronted by a Moodle. So we'll be sending LIS information into the cloud, and a Moodle will suddenly magically be displaying, you know, the results of that. And finally, I'll show a bulk data transfer between the first reference agent that we've put some data into and the Moodle, and you should be able to see the 2 move together. I will apologize now that the demo isn't terribly visual. This is because we work from a sort of a first principles approach. We've written from the spec as it went, and it's service-based stuff, it's server stuff. So, it's packets moving around. You get to see the end results of that, but in between, it's not terribly exciting. It does get more exciting as the demo goes on, I pray. For further information, there are the links. I'll put this slide back up at the end of things. So now I will go into the demo. Now, apologies if this looks a little bit fuzzy or it's hard to read. That's the nature of the beast. So what I've got here is a command line client on my local PC, and I've got running in the cloud some Amazon AMIs that have got the LIS services running. One of them I've configured up to be a reference agent, so that's little more than a database at the moment. The other is a sync with a Moodle on it. So that's the Moodle there, and this is the list of users that's currently in that Moodle. Now, over the course of the demo, we're going to be putting users into there and changing their details. But the first thing that I'm going to show is just a command line client that is going to talk to my reference agent. So that's this guy here, and he's just going to tell me what IDs are in there. So it's a script, it runs some Java, off goes the request, and I get back. I have no idea how clear this is. 2 people are in there. What I'm then going to do is put myself in, so that's my details there. And to do that, using the command line script, I just send a create message, and off it goes. So, ba-dum. And I'm told that apparently that's worked. My code major is a success, code minor a full success. That's part of the LIS spec. We're just sort of showing you the messages that you would need to work with. If I then do read all IDs, it should hopefully see 3 of them, and there's 3 there, and that one's gone in. So that is not a particularly exciting demonstration, but that's a new record in a database. Then I'm able to query it and get the user back again. What I'm going to do now is do a similar thing, but with a Moodle system. Linda says it's exciting. That's marvelous. And I'm going to stick a new person in. So this will hopefully go into Moodle. Apologies for having to hack files live. Because I've repurposed the file, it's now going to a different source. So if I do a read all IDs again, this time I'm talking to Moodle, off it goes, and I'm told here there's no people, no sourced IDs. If I do a quick create, off it goes again. Life happening never needs to be apologized. In it goes, and if I do a read all IDs, we should see said person pop up. Yeah, there they are. Of course, that's all very well me just claiming that it's worked. If I now go on to Moodle and reload my users page, we can see that Tommy Tester has now appeared, and if I was that way inclined, I could go log in as Tommy and do some things with him. One thing that I did want to show as well, working live, was that sometimes institutions and other places will come up with policies that mean things need to change. And in my little test institution that I've got running here, we're going to change our email format from people just using initials to first name, full stop, second name. If I then run a replace, it will, in theory, send a message out. Okay, I've been told the replacement's worked. If I reload here, we should see that Tommy's email address has changed. So that's all live stuff into Moodle. The way this works is we have our LIS gateway software that is listening on the synchronization agent. Our Moodle driver that we're working on is then having messages passed to it from our gateway, and then it is doing the processing, which means calling some of Moodle's REST APIs to put people in and people out. So we've not really made any changes to Moodle itself. We're just using the services that Moodle makes available, We work with Moodle because it's open source, and yeah, we don't have to pay for a developer license or anything like that. Okay, so that's two quick things that I've shown you there. The first being just injecting records into a database that I assert lives on the internet. The second being injecting records into a Moodle. I'm now going to go on and show the bulk data exchanger. Now, I'll start these up first of all. So that's a reference agent in this window here, and a synchronization agent in this one. They're on different machines, both in Amazon AMIs, and I'll just, there's time delays built into these things, so I'll just sort of talk through what's going to happen, and then hopefully when I go back to Moodle and press the button, you'll see the changes. So effectively, the way bulk data exchange works is that data is regularly transmitted from a reference agent, this guy over here, to a number of synchronization agents that are going to be listening out for the data and ultimately doing something with it. The reference agent effectively will publish an XML file that has got lots of transactions in it, which effectively are the transaction logs almost of the reference agent itself. So everything it knows about in terms of users, changes to users, so on and so forth, are described in a file, and ultimately, here it's going now, they are squirted out to the synchronization agents. The sync agent will be listening out for a ref agent to talk to it, and when it receives a message to say, hey, I've got a file for you, it then goes away, downloads the file, and runs through those transactions, and then will process them in whatever way that it does. And in the case of our one, that means we take a bunch of records that I showed you earlier in the simple database, and we squirt them into Moodle. So bulk data exchange allegedly is completed. If I reload this, I should get about 3 more records. There they are. So Helen, myself, and Richard, my friend, have now been moved in a bulk style from the reference agent into the synchronization agent, which is our Moodle connector. And that pretty much was all I really wanted to show people at this point. It's LIS in action. That was all live, as I'll keep saying, using Amazon APIs. And at that point, I'll probably put all the URLs back up, and people can ask me questions or offer criticism or whatever happens now. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Phil. And anybody else got any questions they would like to ask Phil while he's here? That was a great live demonstration, and we love to see people hacking stuff. I think Linda was just asking about what version of Moodle it was that you were using, but I think